Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Ozzy Osbourne's fifth studio album, No Rest for the Wicked, released September 28th, 1988. So this is Zakk Wylde's debut. So I was kind of humming and hawing about whether to review this album or what to review. And I think the main reason I'm doing this is because it was Zakk's debut. I actually do think it's one of Ozzy's better albums. And it's also the first new release I bought when I first went to college. So obviously when I'm going through these classic album inspections, I'm sort of tying it in sometimes with periods of my life. It's a mix of nostalgia, and I try and review albums that meant something to me or meant something to me at a certain time in my life. Sometimes I kind of do albums where it's like, okay, well, let's have a look at this album. But most of these albums that I review, 95% of them are albums I own, have owned, I have listened to intently at a certain point in my life, and this is no exception. I actually first went to college in Newcastle to study music. I appeared on the 18th of September 1988. My first day of college was September 19th. So I must have gone out and explored Newcastle that day, I think, actually, or the day after, and I would have discovered a record shop, music shop in the centre of Newcastle called Windows. And Windows had a fantastic vinyl department. It still has a record department. There's now a vinyl department again, but it's upstairs or at ground level when you go in. But you used to go down into the basement. There's the music shop, and there was a really good record shop. I forget the people who used to run it. There was a lady with a blonde hair, was like top. You could order stuff in. And what was great about it was just so well stocked. You could get loads of quite difficult to find stuff imports. It was very well priced. I remember they had big stickers on, and typically at that point in '88 you get a lot of albums for about $5.49, which is pretty good. You could get albums for $4.99 some places, but $5.49, $5.99, and that was like a lot of stuff that normally be more expensive than that. Also remember I bought Guy Man Dude's Sleight of Hand album from £8.99 in import. Which was a bit of a mistake really, because when I took it back home, it had promised greatness in some guitar magazine I read about him, but I really didn't like it. I thought he was kind of jumping on a bandwagon and didn't quite have it to me anyway. But I'm digressing anyway. So No Rest for the Wicked, I'm almost certainly, I think, would have gone in Windows to get this. Other than that, it would have been Virgin HMV, but I think that would have been the best price. So okay, so let's get into it. So Zakk Wylde auditioned in '87. People say in cassettes. I know that he said he deliberately avoided all the stuff that he thought other players would do. So he obviously did two-handed tapping. He did arpeggios. He did harmonic minor. But quite savvily, I think, he went, well, I'm not going to do that. And that kind of left him with his crazy vibrato, his wah, his kind of little country licks, and his fast pentatonics. So I think, in all fairness, that's what I always felt with Zakk's playing. It was kind of quite a bit narrower in its technical spread than other players, but I think it makes him stand out. It gives him a unique sound, and Ozzy's, always preferred players who avoid that. Randy Rhoads did tap in a bit of whammies, but Jakey Lee, when he went with him, Jakey Lee, no whammy bar, kind of doing sort of things a bit quirkier. I think the other good thing about Zakk is he's a true, real Ozzy fan. I think obviously Randy created the Ozzy sound, created the template for the style of riffs, those rolling 16 riffs that we associate with Ozzy. When Jake came in, and if you look at Jake's background and what he's into, I'm not sure he was really into Sabbath and Ozzy massively. And again, he probably adopted his style, and I imagine there was probably tensions there. There's a famous thing with Jake where he's doing the So Tired solo, and like Ozzy says, can you not do a solo like George Harrison? He didn't like the solo, and he's like, well, go and get fucking George Harrison. But I don't think you'd ever get that with Zakk. I think Zakk, massive Sabbath fan, massive Ozzy fan, what do you need me to do kind of thing. He plays a Les Paul, obviously, because of his huge Randy influence. Yeah, that's sort of the background there. Opening track on this album, I should say the original vinyl was 8 tracks, 43 minutes and 8 seconds. So this is a typical Ozzy length. Ozzy's always done slightly longer songs. Actually, I'm talking rubbish there. It's including that with a bonus track, Hero. Now, Hero was a hidden track on the CD. So unless you had the CD, and a lot of people wouldn't back then, really it was the eight tracks. Which is kind of unusual, and by this point in music it was very rare you got 8-track kind of standard albums. Maiden was still doing 8 tracks, Seventh Son, Somewhere in Time, Power Slave, all 8-track albums. But Priest had long since forsaken them. Ozzy, obviously, Diary's an 8-track album, so is Bark at the Moon. Bill Simmons 9 tracks. After this, Ozzy would do more tracks as the CD era came in. On this album, you've got Ozzy Osbourne vocals, Zakk Wylde guitar, Bob Daisley bass. Now, Geezer Butler did the tour, but Bob Daisley was brought in to do the lyrics again. It's weird, it had this kind of falling out around Diary, but Bob Daisley kept going back because they always used him for the lyrics, and he's a cracking bass player. He did the Bark at the Moon tour plays on that album. He's brought back for this on, obviously, The Ultimate Sin. It was Phil Soussan on bass. I'm not sure why Phil Soussan left or was let go, because he did a good job. Maybe they felt his image was a bit too glammy, I don't know. By this point they're starting to de-glamour, but remember in the Ultimate Sin era, Ozzy's got a ridiculous Liberace outfit and peroxide blonde hair. I should say Zakk as well had hair extensions, so still that sort of hair metal image, but Zakk with the bell-bottom jeans and stuff. You can see Ozzy's made a savvy move. He's kind of moving into a more retro look, which is going to work for the future, so savvy there. Produced by Roy Thomas Baker and Keith Olsen. I'm not sure what tracks. That's it. Miracle Man and Devil's Daughter were produced by Keith Olsen. I think that Roy Thomas Baker does a good job on this. Zakk's guitars, well, let's get this track. It opens with Miracle Man. I think this is the best track on the album. I think this is an Ozzy classic. It's got a classic riff. Zakk's tapped into that Over a Mountain, digga 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 digga, Rolling 16s. Funny lyrics about Jimmy Swaggart. This is written by Ozzy, obviously doing the melodies. Zakk doing the writing the music and the riffage, and Bob Daisley doing the lyrics, maybe a bit of the music. 3 minutes 44. Quite an interesting solo in this. Zakk does kind of 2-string arpeggios, and then he's fast pentatonic. Is it? I think it's groups of 4. Wow. Really good. I love this track. Ozzy's quite funny. He's little Jimmy saying, he does his kind of whiny funny thing, which can get a bit grating, but it's very funny on this. Great opening track. The production, Zakk's guitars heavily tracked on this. It's not just double tracked. I think he's tracked it 4 times. He's got chorus on. It's very big, and what you notice about the mix on this is the guitars are really up front. Zakk's rims very loud on this, but the drums sounds good. The bass sounds good. Zakk's lead sounds good. I think it's a decent sounding record. It doesn't sound too 80s. It's certainly got much more clarity and punch than Bark at the Moon or Ultimate Sin, which weren't great, very well produced records. So this is always why I felt this record's better. I think this is the best album they did since Diary. It's a great track. Next track, I'm not fussed with really. Devil's Daughter, Holy War. Randy Castillo plays on this as well. Keep forgetting, actually, Randy Castillo had a long spell with Ozzy. Ultimate Sin, Red Norris Records. He's on the No More Tears album. I forget when he passed away. March 2002. I'm not sure when he left Ozzy, but very good at serving to Ozzy. Yeah, so it's kind of a John Sinclair co-writes this as well. Kind of a bit of a sort of drop on this as a second track. But then you got Crazy Babies. Kind of again, it got that sort of comedy crazy, but a really cool riff by Zakk. Very robust, cool solo. And then track 4, Breaking All the Rules. Kind of like a simple sort of ploddy sort of riff, but quite a nice little minor sort of figure on Zakk's riff. I think one of the things on this is Zakk is touching bass a bit more with the gothic on some tracks. I think when Jake came in, they kept the kind of amazing 16s and Jake's riffs are amazing, but they lost that gothic thing that Randy Rhoads brought to it, that darkness at times, and I think Zakk sometimes brings that back because Randy's a big influence. Breaking All Rules is a really good track, a cool solo. Side 2 opens with Bloodbath in Paradise. Not a great track, but it's good. It's about the Manson killings. Quite an interesting sort of spooky intro with a stupid woo. It's like, it's that thing with Ozzy. He kind of fell into the trap being the Prince of Darkness, this persona. It started with biting the head off the rubber bat. There's a front of Diary, but it really came to the fore with Bark at the Moon with a werewolf and him being, that character, I suppose. But Bloodbath in Paradise is a good track. You've got a good sort of double stop, and a D and G string type riff. Cool solo. Now, does he do yeah, I think as this track was there's a kind of big kind of stacked triad bit with John Sinclair must have used some cool samples. Again, a bit processed, but again that gothic, more Randy Rhoads swing. Then there's the album's epic next track, Fire in the Sky. This is probably the most interesting track on the album. It's a bit more introspective. Again, it's sort of more in the Killer Giants mode, or the Aussie ballad with heaviness, quite a cool chorus. Zakk brings out his sort of epic pentatonic run on this that he does at the high E and B, which he'll sort of refine on the No More Tears solo. This is a really good track. Everyone gets in on the act on this, including John Sinclair as the keyboard player now. Then you got Tattooed Dancer. Aside from when Ozzy goes, "Dance for me, bitch," this is maybe got the stack triad bit. Don't quote me. I've been listening to some quite a bit recently. I can't remember. This has got a great riff by Zakk. And he tracks the pinch harmonic. Woo, woo. This is good. 3 minutes 53. So this is the second shortest track on the album. I think this and Miracle Man benefit from being under 4 minutes. It's a shame the album maybe didn't have a couple of shorter tracks like that. Cool solo. Always really like this track. And then the last track, Demon Alcohol, it's got a really cool riff that's kind of 4/4 time, but 3 groups of 4. Again, Zakk does a cool pentatonic riff, great pinch harmonic. Quite like the chorus on this. The chorus is kind of a breakdown, just with kind of keyboards and a cool pattern by Randy Castillo. Another cool solo, a good finishing track. I think I'd give this album a 7 out of 10. I think on other days it might be an 8. It probably lacks enough classics. I suppose Miracle Man's a classic Aussie track, no doubt, and some people would say Crazy Babies is. I wouldn't agree with that. But I do think Devil's Daughter Aside, the original 8-track album, is a strong record. I always liked it, and whenever I've gone back to it, I've always felt it's quite a bit better than No More Tears. No More Tears, and this album did well. It sold 2 million copies. It's charted quite low in the UK, number 23. Let me just look at No More Tears, of course, had Mama I'm Coming Home, the title track, and some bigger hits. That chart placing, better chart placings, UK selling, US Billboard 7, but it went quadruple platinum. And Ozzy, he beat the system on this album really by 91. Traditional metal's really gonna be under attack, and Ozzy, and Zakk managed to overcome that and do an album that was the best-selling one since the Rhodes days. I listened to this again. When I bought the album, I just couldn't get into it. I think the title track is the best Ozzy track since the Rhodes era. I think it's better than any tracks on the Jakey Lee era. I think No More Tears is a great Aussie track, but I don't like Mr. Tinkertown, I Don't Want to Change the World. But Mama I'm Coming Home is a good ballad, nice sort of acoustic part by Zakk. Desire's good, great guitar on that. No More Tears, excellent track. Sins, good. Time After Time's okay. And then Zombie Stomp AVH, Road to Nowhere's okay. I think really its reputation rests on those kind of hits. Hellraiser as well, written by Lemmy. But I always felt the No More Tears album was more consistent. This album's kind of bigger. It's actually got a really big sound by the Dwayne, John Barron, Dwayne Purtell production. And Zakk, there's quite a lot of reverb on his solos, but his guitar really sings. He brings in a few more country licks. It's less one-dimensional than No Rest for the Wicked. So it kind of go along with the argument that maybe this is Zakk's greatest performance on the No More Tears album. But that aside, it's a kind of 6 out of 10 for me. I just always felt No More Tears, No Rest for the Wicked was more consistent. Probably because it had less tracks, and I think it's a strong debut by Zakk. I must confess at the time, although I like the album, initially I didn't get Zakk. For the reasons I talked about before, I like my harmonic man, I like my arpeggios, stuff like that. I didn't really get his vibrato, I found it too over the top. But a mate from college, kind of, he was into it, and someone's perspective makes you listen again, makes you look differently, and I realised, well, Zack Attack was really cool. It made him stand out, and his pentatonics, and he was a strong writer as well. I mean, obviously Zakk, he's done Black Label Society, I don't know how many albums he's done with them, but he is a good writer, and he's got a tremendous charisma, and this is what's missing in guitar now, is guitarists who can write songs, who do great solos, integrated in those songs, which Zakk absolutely does, and have tremendous presence, Guitar Hero presence, and Zakk did. you know, he arrived as a package, and Ozzy and Sharon obviously helped steer him in a really cool direction. So that's my review of No More Tears, an album worth checking out. My sort of third favourite Ozzy album, and sorry, No Rest for a Wicked, my third favourite Ozzy album. Remember, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again. Thanks very much.